Let's put an end to the constant waste of your time. Declare to yourself that it's time to leave behind your old self, former life, and outdated perceptions that no longer serve your highest and most flourishing self. As Aristotle said, that the highest form of life is to flourish, and you're meant to flourish. So it's time to say to yourself that it's over when it comes to the lifestyle you've been living, because the world is changing so fast, and many of our habits, many of our old patterns are outdated, many of our old perceptions are outdated, and it's time to renew them. So it's over to the life we've been living, because there's so much more life has to offer. The world is changing at a rapid pace, and those who will thrive the most in this new world are those who know how to think deeply yet clearly, how to balance external and internal responsibilities. That's something we'll also talk today about. Those who have gained great self-awareness or awareness of inner resonance, and those who know how to self-regulate emotions, recognizing patterns, and channeling energy for the greater good of all. I want to focus on few steps today that can help you to get a bit closer to that version of yourself, because there is a potential within you to become really good at that. But it's hard to be good at anything if we don't prioritize it, right? If we don't make some goals out of it, if we don't see our greatness as a potential, as a possibility, and design some goals that could be broken down on smaller goals that could be accomplished every single day. So you have to learn to think deeply, but clearly. Because most people are running after distractions because they don't have a clear sense of direction. Like Plutarch said, the mind is not a vessel to be filled, but a fire to be kindled. And that is a profound wisdom here, my friends. The mind is not a vessel to be filled, but a fire to be kindled. What does it mean? Well, it means that firstly, when you're constantly distracting yourself, you're feeding your mind with anything that comes across your awareness. You can scroll on social media and you will see all kinds of crazy stuff, Some positive, most of them negative. And you may say, well, it doesn't matter. But actually, your subconscious mind is perceiving everything. There was a study done on a few people when scientists said to them that they can go outside, walk through the city a little bit, and once they got back into their room, they asked them what they've seen, what they've experienced, and they all told them a few random things, like a few random buildings, some people, some cars, and so on. And then they've guided them into a meditation, into a process where they've started tapping into their subconscious mind. And when they were deep in the meditation, scientists started asking them what they've seen. And suddenly they've started talking about details like signs on the buildings, small letters, letters and numbers from car plates, and so on. So they've recognized that actually subconscious mind is perceiving everything. We're only conscious about little things we place our attention to, but actually we perceive everything. That's why it's so important to recognize that if we really want to flourish in our lives, we have to feed our minds with what can allow us to flourish. You know, often people are distracting themselves while you could actually go into a library and read books, while you could actually listen to some helpful podcasts, while you could actually meditate, right? So really be clear on that, because one thing is to think deeply and to be quite lost in your mind. But the second thing is to think clearly. which means that we know how to nourish clarity. And clarity requires time, it requires attention, it requires our focus. And for that we have to be disciplined, right? If we want to kindle the fire of the mind, we have to be disciplined, mentally disciplined. Mental discipline is that when you prioritize a certain state of being, let's say you prioritize your inner peace, then mental discipline will allow you to be at peace with yourself, to erase the thoughts that are not allowing you to be at peace with yourself, to say no to the things that are not allowing you to be at peace with yourself. That is mental discipline. Sometimes you will find yourself in a situation that is not supporting who you are becoming. And mental discipline can then see that as an opportunity to grow rather than something to think negatively about. To see good in whatever is happening and to see potential growth in whatever comes your way. That is all mental discipline, and that's how you stay in your inner peace. But often we have to have certain tools, certain practices that we can stay in that state of peace, right? Sometimes something that happened doesn't make any sense. So it's much easier if we write about it, right? If we reflect about it, it's already an internal responsibility, something we'll talk about it a little bit later. When we reflect on what happened, we'll see things a bit more clearly. And then we can visualize ourselves again being in that situation and looking into ourselves from outside of our bodies, like you would be observing a friend of yours, and just objectively thinking how you've responded, how you've reacted, how you've done, right? And there's actually a really wonderful practice of visualization that can help you to deal with certain hard situations, where you can actually visualize certain people you truly admire. You visualize them like you would be visualizing a certain master teacher, whoever that represents to you, being close to yourself, and you can ask that master teacher, how would you deal with that situation? When you're facing with maybe financial problems, you can visualize yourself meeting somebody who's really good with finances. Just visualize it. That's how you tap into the power of your subconscious mind. And you can ask that person, how would you treat this problem or this challenge? Don't even say it's a problem, say it's a challenge, because challenges are only here so we learn to overcome them. That's how we use our creative capacities. And if you use that visualization practice, you can visualize being with any person you admire, anyone who's like an example of what you need, what you want to learn. You will notice that you start receiving answers that are really profound, that are really meaningful. But then the question is, will you put them into work, right? Will you put them into work? That's how you start developing capacity to think deeply yet clearly. When it comes to balancing external and internal responsibilities, that's how we actually get to the next level. That's how we start flourishing. We recognize it's not just about chasing things and getting money and working hard and, constantly socializing and distracting ourselves with all kinds of different things. Nothing is wrong with that. It's just one side of the coin, right? The other side of the coin is the internal responsibility. Internal responsibilities. So if external responsibilities may be our work, our family, our community, our social life, our environment, and so on and so on. Our internal responsibilities are our passion projects, our self-care, taking time to rest, our values and integrity, our discipline, our self-reflection, self-love. Once we start balancing these two parts of us, and I know often people say, well, I would, but I don't have time for that. but you have time to scroll on your phone. The fact is that only when we balance internal responsibilities with external responsibilities, we can actually flourish. An incredible thing that happens is that our internal work starts reflecting in external life. People around us start to notice that we are changing, that we are growing, that something is different about us. Our aura is changing, our energy is changing, and as we've started taking greater care of ourselves, as we've started resting a little bit more, our mental clarity appeared. We've started to think more clearly. We've started to look at life from a different perspective, and suddenly our values have changed. And when our values change, also our level of integrity can increase, because we recognize, well, I don't want to do what I'm not valuing. I don't want to be an example of somebody who has no values at all. I want to be an example of what I stand for, right? I want to walk in peace. I want to walk in courage. I want to walk in love. I want to actually be in love with the creation. I want to be passionate about living, about life. I want to do things that are nurturing my inner fire. I want to focus on growth. I want to be a wonderful example of what it means to fully live, right? And once you really pay attention to all those words, you recognize, I can do that. You will recognize that you are worthy of that, that you deserve anything you ever wanted, because it will give you more freedom to be more helpful for humanity. Is that true? Let me know if that's true for yourself, because I know it is. I know it is. But you have to learn to trust your unique path, because you are here on a unique journey. Stop comparing yourself with all other people. Stop comparing yourself. I know you may not be where you wanted to be, but comparing yourself with them will only rob you from joy. When you start noticing that you are a bit higher on a conscious level, or maybe on a level of abundance than you've been 2 years ago, you will notice, oh, there's a progress that I've done. I'm not in a competition, I'm in an evolution, right? So, my friends, really pay attention to that. And don't ask yourself what the world needs. Ask yourself what makes you come alive, and then go and do that. Because what the world needs is people who have come alive. Those are words by Howard Thurman. And I really believe into that, because you see, when we're talking about life's purpose, which happens actually naturally as we are evolving and growing and learning and paying more attention to what can actually help us to flourish, at some point we come to a realization, oh, I want to share this with others. And that's where we give birth to a purpose. But often at this point, people are asking what the world truly needs, while they're still suffering, or they still have a lack of certain integrity or certain values or certain discipline or whatever may be. The world truly needs people who feel alive, people who are healthy, people who are rich in their minds, rich in their souls. And to accomplish that, you have to practice that, right? Like, to me, when I wake up, I love to think about what I want to do today, because I know that something unknown is waiting me there, something unrecognizable, or something that I couldn't recognize before will reveal to myself. I really live a spontaneous life sometimes. I'm well disciplined in certain areas, but also I allow myself to be open and spontaneous. And I think that's something that is really important when it comes to reaching our goals. We can't just be attached to the outcomes. We have to open ourselves to unexpected miracles, to unexpected events that may help us to enlighten us in the areas where we couldn't thought that it's possible. And life works that way. Life works completely unpredictably. We can try to predict something, but the best way to predict the future is to create it, right? With your incredible imagination. You can design some goals out of your dreams, and if you break them down onto smaller goals, and the smaller goals break them down onto daily goals, you will notice that every single day you have an opportunity to get a little bit closer to where you want to be. And if you're keeping the balance between those external responsibilities, as even your goals become your external responsibilities, with resting and rejuvenation and meditation and reflection, you will notice that within you there's an inner compass that is guiding you through life. And that is your inner technology that is divine, that is something that is helping you to move yourself through hard times. So also take time to explore and identify activities that genuinely excite and energize you. Maybe make a list of potential activities that align with your passions, and ask yourself how often you're nourishing that. Because there's again this balance between external and internal responsibilities. Notice how often you are working on your passion projects. Because like Steve Jobs said, your time is limited. Don't waste it living someone else's life. And that is profound, because most people will never say to you that you should actually follow your deepest calling. You will most probably never get permission to do it out there. So you have to grant it yourself, by yourself, to yourself. And, when you recognize, oh, I'm really passionate about that, but I'm not doing anything about it at all, you will recognize why you feel the way you feel. It's interesting. Once we start doing more of what truly makes us feel alive, we start to feel more alive, right? We start to feel more on fire. And that's where we recognize, oh, maybe I've came here to do that. Maybe I've came here to become a great artist. Maybe I've came here to be a messenger. Maybe I've came here to be a helpful source of inspiration for others. Maybe I've come here to be a healer. Maybe I've come here to be a mystic, to be a philosopher, to be a teacher, to be a doctor, to be a scientist. Whatever you may feel called to do, whatever you are passionate about. And to be passionate about something doesn't just mean that you always feel good about it. Sometimes, passion is like a fire. Sometimes it burns strong, but sometimes it's only, it's weak, but it's still possible to see it and to feel it. So when you're passionate about something, it doesn't mean that you should always be on fire with it. More important is that you sense the purpose of it, that you sense why it is important, why you have to do it. And if you place as much importance on your well-being as you're placing it on the money and health and so on, you will recognize that your well-being will start rising and you will start to feel more well, right? Start thinking richer thoughts, my friends, and you will feel more rich. Start trusting yourself a little bit more. And start erasing all that negativity from your mind that is blocking you from seeing the life that is unfolding for you, as you are the co-creator of it. The world is really shifting, and so many heavy things are happening all around this planet right now. So we really need people who feel alive, because when you really feel alive, when you feel completely aligned with this song of the universe that is moving through all of us, you easily sense a potential solution that can be helpful for society at this time. And through your gifts and talents, you can bring it on in a way that can be helpful and beneficial for this planet. So, my friends, believe into yourself, believe into your own worthiness, believe into your capabilities, and release the need for external validation, and give yourself permission to follow whatever calls you from within. My friends, I hope you found something valuable today. I hope you've enjoyed in today's painting, transformation, the alchemical process of transformation.